Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Shred Show Live. You can see the smiling faces hanging out with me. I've got Scott. I've got John from Class Valuation. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the modern appraisal. We're going into a new era. We're going into all kinds of new journeys within the mortgage space, and we're going to help you when it comes to the appraisal. It's a new world. It's a new tech, and you are not going to want to miss our show. Modern Appraisals, ladies and gentlemen, come hang out with us. Come shred with us. Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm ready. Scott's ready. John's ready. We're going to go shred. Let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just meeting Scott and John for the first time, you're missing out because these gentlemen, they're experts in the field when it comes to appraisal. Ladies and gentlemen, let me wrap your head around this. We all know how crazy the market is. Things are hot. Homes are still selling like hotcakes. And when it comes down to it, the appraisal is a necessary piece of this, what we do in the mortgage industry. And who better to talk about it than Class Valuation? I got Scott Rose and John Dingeman hanging out with me today. Gentlemen, how are you this morning?
Good, Josh. Good, man. Good to be here. I love the excitement.
Oh, awesome. You know me. We're talking about, here's the thing. I've been in the mortgage industry for a long time. I've been a mortgage originator for a long time. I love it. And when it comes down to it, I always say this, you know, the appraisal space, the appraisers in the industry, and John in particular, you know, being the chief appraiser, you know what appraisers go through. Sometimes we as originators in the mortgage industry, we like to throw crap on like, oh, it's the appraiser's fault. Oh, it's the AMC's fault. Oh, it's their fault. But we're going to kind of set the record straight. Plus, we're moving into a new era. We're seeing new data, new technology, some advancements going on in the appraisal space that are truly exciting for us as an industry, for us as originators. And who better to talk about it than Class Valuation? So, Scott, I'm excited to have you on the show, excited to have you talk about it. And like I said, we're talking about the modern appraisal, which is really exciting. Scott, in particular, there's new data, there's new technology, there's some pretty exciting things that we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. Yeah, sorry, was that you were teeing it over to me. We're excited to talk about it. You know, there are a lot of changes going on in the industry. We've been working on these solutions for over the last 2 years. And when we really saw these changes coming, what we found was most important is that something was put together and built that met the needs of all constituents, including the appraisers you mentioned, right? Sometimes we forget about them. They have a lot of obligations. They've got liability. And we wanted to put something into the market that really supported not only our lender clients and customers, mortgage brokers, consumers, risk holders, but appraisers alike. And we really feel what we've put together is the best in the market right now, and we're excited about it.
The best in the market indeed, which we're going to be talking about. Guys, everybody who's joining us, Patrick coming in from LinkedIn, Brian Reynolds, Corey's here, Felicia. And guys, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat in the link below, and we'll try to get to questions because, John, that's what today's episode is about. Like I said, to kind of start the episode, being the chief appraiser over at Class Valuation, we're going into a modern age of the appraisal, and there are definitely some items that we want to discuss. We want to set the record straight, and that's why Class Valuation is leading the way when it comes to appraisals.
Absolutely. And look, you know, I started with the organization several years ago. I had the opportunity at Class Valuation to, I guess, put my hand on a few things, test a few things out, and play devil's advocate. I am an appraiser. I'm not that far removed from the field, but more importantly, I love the profession so much. My daughter, we talk about a lack of new entries. She's a young 26-year-old mom, and she is a trainee. And so I'm interested in ensuring the legacy of the professional appraiser and making sure that we continue our vital role in this process.
For sure.
Yeah, John's always a great sounding board internally, Josh. I always figure if we can meet his expectations, then we can meet anyone's.
So I love that you talk about expectations because honestly, Scott, as the Chief Innovation Officer at Class, there is a lot of innovation going on in the space. Class continues to lead the way. And there's a big question. A lot of people ask, are AMCs still relevant? There's a lot of changes going on as certain companies are trying new processes. They're trying new tactics. They're trying things that may or may not work. But Class they have a tried and true reputation, and they continue to innovate and they continue to educate. And that's what this series is all about, is educating not not only our mortgage professionals and our mortgage family industry, but to really help educate even the consumers down to the bottom level of this. Because again, the appraisal process is so critical to the home buying experience, to the home buying journey that so many people go on. So Scott, let's talk about innovation. Let's talk about some of the things that class is really focused on in this new year of 2022 and some things that are really exciting and kind of starting to push the envelope.
You bet. I mean, really, at class, we're going to talk a lot today about the future of appraisal, right? The modernization of appraisal. But we really think about our whole platform from modernization. Everything that we do, we're looking for ways where we can continue to apply more advanced technologies to how we operate our business and continue to push everyone to be the best, right? I mean, we believe that AMCs are extremely important, and you need to bring value, and you need to be able to be an expert in the services that you offer. And with that, it's also about where are we going with the future, and where's the industry going, and being leaders there. And we've had a great opportunity over the last couple of years, especially the last 6 to 9 months, to be participating in the market with a lot of these test and learn solutions. And what we've brought to the market, we call the digital appraisal. And it's where we separate, right, the data collection process from the actual analysis and development and opinion of value. So we send folks out into the field with 3D scanning technologies to capture data and information about the property, and in a really robust and high quality fashion, so that we can bring that data back in a very comprehensive fashion to the appraiser at their desktop, full virtual renditions of the interior and the exterior of the home. So the appraiser can literally inspect the property as if they were there physically. Additionally, applying advanced technologies like computer vision, the same type of technologies we use to drive self-propelled vehicles, to extract data and information, get very detailed floor plans and accurate measurements, flooring materials, inventory of different appliances in the home, year, make, model, match, and be able to deliver that to an appraiser so they have high confidence that they're able to see that whole property and trust the information that they're viewing to develop their opinion of value.
So Scott, this digital appraisal that you mentioned, it's kind of exciting. Like you said, this technology, the AR, the VR, there's so many things that we're talking about in this new day and age. One thing that I wonder, John, is being the chief appraiser, being with your background with it, is this a replacement of appraisers as we know it? Is that what we're trying? Like, are we taking appraisers out of the equation?
I don't think so at all, Josh. And again, if I believed that, I would have talked my daughter out of pursuing a career as an appraiser, right? What I think is it's to use an appraiser term, it is a highest and best use issue. Where's the highest and best use for an appraiser? It is in the analysis and valuation, not necessarily in the inspection of properties. There's other people that can do that. I'm not suggesting that an appraiser can't, and they probably will for some products. But in this particular case, if the solution allows me to again visualize the entire property unfiltered, so it's transparent data, and ultimately, while it may mitigate the risk for the appraiser and the lender, it may also address process and capacity issues. If it bolsters my independence, and provides additional value to me as an appraiser that I can then forward to my client, it's a win-win.
And Scott, I love that John kind of mentioned it's a win-win. And that's as mortgage professionals, as industry professionals, as consumers, as appraisers, we're all trying to work together to have a win-win situation. And I know that's a big focus for class as well. Like you mentioned data, you mentioned leveraging technology. All these things have a play or have a piece when it comes to where where the appraisal space and especially the entire industry is going. So what is, when it comes to some of the big changes, and I know we're seeing guidelines, Fannie, Freddie, FHA, like we're seeing even guidelines being more that are adapting and that are changing. Those are some big things that we need to be aware of as well, correct?
100%. And really, as you mentioned, like thinking of everybody involved. And now that we've had the experience to do thousands of these, we're doing thousands of them per month, and we can really compare them to the traditional process and those outcomes. And when we look at how it affects all the stakeholders, for instance, we see a 50% reduction in revision rates from us to the appraiser in the digital process. So the appraisers are receiving 50% less of the time having us have to go back to them and ask for revision rates, which we all know also affects downstream cycle times with our customers when we have to go back for those corrections. 70% less of the time we're seeing our customers come back to us in the digital. Right now, we're running, below a 3% revision rate in the digital process. It really helps everyone, right? And it creates efficiencies. And when you're able to collect data, when you're able to do it in a standard and comprehensive fashion, in a repeatable fashion, we can send 5 different people out to the property and receive the same 5 results every single time now. And then we're able to streamline that process, make our appraisers' life easier. We integrate with their FormsWare platforms. We process all that information in there so they don't have to worry about rekeying the data, and it really eliminates typographical errors. We're not going back for missed photos, dark photos, blurred photos, because we're controlling this image capture process, and it really just brings a better experience for everybody involved. And as you mentioned, to kind of key in on the next step, which is where are we going in 2022? We know that FHFA along with Fannie and Freddie are going to bring the desktop solution to the marketplace. Well, that solution has some requirements that are going to really probably lead us to more of driving towards the data collection hybrid type solution out of the gate until the market adapts to these new requirements. For instance, the need for a detailed floor plan with interior wall dimensions measured to an ANSI standard in order for the appraiser to be able to move forward. The appraisers, which John can talk more about, are also still signing a certification that they have enough data and information to derive the credible results. And so they may not have enough directly out of the regular go-to areas like MLS or public record out of the gate until the industry adapts and starts collecting more of that information up front. So maybe John can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, John, let's go on that. Let's dive into that a little bit more.
100%, right? So look, we can go back to the COVID flexibilities that were offered to appraisers in the beginning of 2020 and played out through part of 2021. And that is appraisers, those flexibilities were not actually offered to lenders and or consumers. It was actually offered to appraisers. And the appraisers, it was, do I have enough information to complete a credible appraisal report? And if I do, then I can proceed with the use of these flexibilities. And what Scott's talking about is the same certifications, the same scope of work that's outlined with the desktop and these new requirements will require some of that from the appraiser. And so either they're going to expand the scope of work, which could include a traditional interior exterior inspection as we know it today, or they would request additional information or have enough. And that's really our goal, is to provide enough information to the appraisers so they can proceed.
Oh, and I love that. A couple of comments coming in. Patrick Felvey, it will be opening up additional opportunities for appraisers. And Brian Reynolds has a great comment here. It should all be about risk. What is the overall risk of a collateral lending decision? I think we can all agree that higher the risk, the more the need for traditional appraisals. An extremely low risk, maybe an appraisal isn't even needed. Being an appraiser is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a whole conversation in itself. But I really like this. And Scott, you mentioned something that kind of makes, and we started out this conversation in a way, and I want to kind of come back to this, but class valuation, data is everything in these days. And the fact that you guys you have so much of it, and you're doing, like I said, the amount of appraisals and the amount of data that you guys are collecting is helping the overall process. You mentioned getting turn times down. That's something that we've heard last year was just a cluster in particular. We were seeing some incredibly high turn times on new purchases. And now that we're going into 2022, where it's a purchase market, builders, home buyers were wanting to see those turn times get even more and more efficient. Data is key, critical in the actual process and simplifying the overall speed of the transaction, right?
100%. I mean, we really look at the overall ecosystem as functioning, within itself. For instance, appraisal assignment as it relates to appraisal QC, and the data science that we put behind that allows us to really focus our assignment out of the gate, getting those orders into the right hands right from the start. And so, we have a solution called Smart Assign, but we're able to really, create a lot of efficiencies with auto assign to those appraisers based off past experience and understanding we have in those markets for specific customers, for specific property types, really, streamlining that process and making sure we get it right from the beginning.
Well, and I'm sure, John, I love that you mentioned this because I want to kind of touch back on this too. You mentioned your daughter. Yeah, I mean, you're so confident in the appraisal space. You've even held like, hey, now your daughter's getting into this space. What is the future of appraisers? Because I know that's something here in Utah in particular. We're just not seeing, these young kids right out of college saying, yes, that's what I want to do with my life. I want to be an appraiser. That's the life for me. I'm going to drive my Lambo up to the property, rolling in style, doing appraisers. But at the same time, the future of appraisal and being an appraiser is bright. And that's what sometimes people get this missing. And I've seen this in some of our discussions on Facebook and different groups, is that technology and class AMCs in particular are trying to replace the appraiser, but that's not the case. It's working side by side, hand in hand together to actually build the future of appraisers.
If Josh, look, man, if this was class's goal, I would not be a part of the organization. Just hands down, right? And so going back to my daughter, look, she's again 26. She had a career in the banking and insurance industry, and she loved it. If you asked her 3-4 years ago, do you want to be an appraiser? She would have told you no. No, why do I want to do what my dad and my mom do? And but with a new son, she's like, look, the opportunities that being an appraiser gave my parents, the upbringing and the things that we were able to do and have, it does provide an opportunity for her. And I could have easily talked her out of it. I did not. I let her pursue it, and she's doing that today. She's about halfway through on her hours. I would say this, what's also interesting, I'm pretty young. I dye my beard just to demonstrate some maturity. But in all seriousness, the young folks that are joining the profession today, they think differently. So it's not uncommon for my daughter to call me and say, Dad, Mom, right? Like, why does my supervisor do this? Or why do appraisers do it this way? And so they just think differently, and I'm happy about it. I'm proud of her, and I'm excited for her future and a long future in our profession.
Well, Scott, this is what gets me excited too, is because this is the partnership that you have with appraisers, and this is the future of educating the industry, as John's even talking about. You guys have a lot invested monetarily, time-wise, when it comes to the future of working with appraisers and building that network and building that confidence, building the data, as we've been referring to. That's what, again, that's kind of what, separates and differentiates class from everybody else.
100%. I mean, we like to say, our solutions are built by appraisers for appraisers. I think also John pointing out, entering new entrants coming into the profession, they want something new and exciting. They want technology to be part of the process. Younger generations don't want to come in to an industry that is still leveraging, stale processes, right? They want something advanced and exciting. It's a big part of the reason why we just acquired Data Master. Our property data collection solution is the front end, getting out there using tech to really collect property data in a more advanced way. And then secondarily, supporting the analysis and the development of the opinion of value. And we're going to keep driving into these technologies, making them more advanced, bringing more credible reports to the marketplace, and hopefully supporting appraisers with creating the most credible reports, and supporting our stakeholders by delivering the most credible reports, things that they can depend on, they believe in, that they trust. And the way to do that is by apply technology, make it exciting. And we're really focused on bringing the next generation of appraisers into this profession. We want to do it in a diverse fashion. We want to bring more diversity into the appraisal profession, more mirroring the demographics of the United States, right? And this is an important initiative for us. We're going to stay focused on it. And this technology also helps to do that. It helps with the training. It helps get new trainees in the field, and allowing supervisors to lead the next generation into our profession. And that's a huge focus for class. And we're going to stick to it. And we're excited on where we're going to go over the next few years, and really bringing more exciting entrance into this profession.
Oh, you can feel your energy and your excitement and passion. Scott, not a lot of people, sometimes the appraisal world and the appraisal space is like, that's a little bit more, but you can feel it. Both you and John share the same passion, but it's even deeper than that. Not only are you passionate and excited about it, you're doing it. You're making an impact within the space. That's what class is doing. That's what the entire team and the culture does at Class Valuation. And as we start to wrap things up here, John, I want to share just a little bit. That's what we talked about this episode being Modern Appraisal. So what are some of the things that in going into this next year with 2022, what are some of the things that you're really looking forward to and excited about in the year of appraisal in 2022, John?
Wow, that's That's a tough question. For me, it's really just continuing to pursue the pursue, I guess, the future of the appraiser, right? Like, again, value add. The 1004 isn't the only product. I believe that if appraisers can get better at and actually demonstrate their highest and best use, going to an earlier comment that I made, right?
Yeah.
And that is the analysis and valuation. Then we can apply that to any of the product types based on the risk that's presented to the client, right? And I think there's still a home for traditional appraisals, interior inspections, exterior inspections, and the appraiser will demonstrate their value add there. Again, to Scott's point, adopting technology, and I think we're there today for sure, to help augment what it is that we do is really what gets me excited.
For sure. Something that you and I were talking about prior to the show as well, that we're going to have a future episode on, is ROVs, reconsideration of value. I was in a group yesterday listening and just kind of watching some of the comments. There was an appraisal that went bad. It was with another AMC. We won't get into who, but things didn't go so well. And we were talking about the process of ROV and how even that's changing. I know with technology, and Scott, that's something you mentioned with your guys' data. Appraisals are becoming more and more accurate. We're seeing less ROVs. Now, there's still a future of that, which again is completely for another episode. But I'm excited for, again, the numbers that you shared, just kind of started touching on, Scott, with the data, with data becoming more accurate, more efficient. We're seeing less and less of those. But the process of even that's what I know of that in particular. That's for a whole nother episode, but I'm excited for. So, Scott, when it comes to this next year, I know you kind of started to alluding it with what you were just saying, but what gets you really pumped for the modern appraisal in 2022, especially when it comes with class?
Say that again, Josh. What?
What really gets you stoked for this next year? What's getting you excited? Like, what is it? What gets, again, you can feel your passion, you can see the excitement, but what really fuels you for this next year in 2022 with the modern appraisal?
You know, I what gets me most excited is I think we're starting to see in the signs that this is going to broaden. This is going to become bigger and bigger. I think we've done a lot of work over the last 1.5 to 2 years to show how these solutions not only meet the risk expectations, but the right solutions actually exceed those, right? We're seeing better results using these digital solutions than we are in the traditional solution overall, even when the appraiser is out in the field. And Brian Reynolds, I loved his question, and he and I have talked, round and round about these solutions. And I think that when the right technology is deployed in this process, we can actually have even a better risk mitigation solution in place for the industry that supports all stakeholders, as I mentioned. And I think what we're going to see in 2022 is we're starting to see a lot more of our competitors step up, bringing more technology to the process as well, which we love to see, because all solutions are not created equal. And some of the initial solutions that rolled out on these test and learn, some people might not have had the best of experience. If you're trying to train a non-industry professional how to measure a house and how to take the right flat file images for appraisers and do these tasks that are very difficult, answer questions that relate to the things that affect value on those properties, versus applying technology that allows the appraiser to continue to make all those decisions from their desk. And even in an ROV process, now everybody has a fully transparent view of that property to look at during these processes and really understand what type of property we have here, because you have such greater transparency around what that property is. So I'm excited to see more technology come into the market to push class, to push our other competitors, and we're just going to keep pushing each other and making this process better. And that's what gets me the most excited. Dude,
that gets me excited too. Something you said there, and I almost have an idea for a future episode. I'm teasing you guys. Not all appraisals are created equal. You kind of alluded to that. So we definitely, that's a whole nother episode we should dive into, because that is something that's critical. And that's something I think our industry needs to be talking about, and we need to dive into more. So I'm teasing you guys. You heard it here first here on Shred. We're going to be coming at you with another episode. Plus me and John, like I said, we're going to be talking about ROVs in the future. So many of these things. As mortgage professionals, we need to understand this process. We need to understand these elements so we can ultimately go back and help our clients, help the consumer make this homeowner journey more efficient and more enjoyable. And I know that's what Class is doing. I know that's what John and Scott and their team over Class Valuation is focused on doing. So huge shout out to John and Scott for joining us today, for sharing all that they have. Huge shout out to everybody from Brian to Rick to Dal to everybody. Patrick commenting on the show today. Whitney, everybody who got involved. We appreciate you guys being here. And if you guys have questions directly, shoot them over to us or shoot them over on here on LinkedIn or on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're at. And we'll make sure we get them over to class to answer them in future episodes with that as well. Scott, John, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
You guys are absolutely brilliant, guys, and you are amazing. We, as always, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And now it's time for all of you guys to go shred, go show up, hustle, repeat every day. See ya.